and that your reality on one side of the highway is really, truly different.
Completely.
In the same city from someone else.
You watch the news and you're like, this can't be our country. The only reason why it was because you're seeing Ngong Road. I recognize Ngong Road. I recognize like the Sichimochari and these places. And that for me was just one of the things that stuck with me, even after the violence. I remember at some point I wanted to be part of it. So my sister and I went to, I think it was Showground, where they had set up temporary camps, and we went to volunteer there. And I couldn't even deal with that because I'm just like, there's wanting to be involved, and then there's actually seeing what loss looks like on a large scale, because there was a woman who tried to pass off her baby so she could just kind of get some money to go bail out her sister from Langata women. There was all of these stories that were kind of happening in real time in a country that was so broken. But for us guys on our part of the world, it's just like a very quiet December holiday that still just kind of shocks me, even now, that I'm able to continue working from home and have a fairly undisrupted life while other parts of the country are experiencing such loss from the pandemic. It's shocking to me. And it's a product of just decades of building a city along lines that are not ours and that we don't fully understand.
Right. What do you do with that feeling of inequality?
Yeah, that's been one that I deal with every day. And I think that this book is about politics, but it's also about privilege, because we're all born with privilege. Anyone listening to this podcast now has privilege. And I don't think that I can't take away the privilege I was born with. I didn't ask for it. If you're born with a golden spoon in your mouth, it's going to be very hard to take it out, I think. So it's not really about like who has it and who doesn't have privilege. It's about what you do with it.
Right.
And that's where I think I find some kind of comfort. So I have all of these things that have been given to me because of where I live in Nairobi, because of who my parents were, because of where I went to school, because of things that may not have been in my power. But I am spending my life trying to then use my work as my activism. My work with libraries is how I respond to that.
Right.
I may not have the loudest voice, but I have these skills that I can loan to libraries and then make public spaces mean something. I can write. Can I write a book that makes people reflect about how they treat their housekeepers and their drivers? Because it's not about elections only. It's about every single choice you make every day.
Right.
When you ask your housekeeper to stay an hour longer so you can hang out with your friends an hour longer, what do you know what that means for her? How's she gonna get home? Who's feeding her kids? All of these things we don't really think about as middle class Kenyans. And that's what I wanted. It's down to every single choice you make, because the elections is like one of thousands of choices you make every 5 years. But it's the small ones that mean something. Because if you begin to think about your housekeeper, every single thing that you do, thinking about those people who make your life easier, then when it comes to making big decisions about like who to vote for and how to vote, then that person, that their well-being remains in the forefront of your life. And that's what I try to do. I don't always succeed. Let me tell you, I've made some mistakes. And there are times when I've had views or said things, and I'm just like, that was so arrogant and ignorant and privileged of me. But you've got to do the work, and you've got to kind of ask people the hard questions and be ready to take the feedback. I think that this book, one of the things that I did when I was ready to launch it is that actually Washuka, my co-founder, read it very late in the process, because I was so scared of getting people who I cared about to read it. And the minute she read it, she told me you need to check your bias, because there's things that you've said in the book that kind of, you may not know that you're leaning in a certain direction, but your characters are. And so I found somebody who was as far different. Like, you know how you sit in this lane and then you get someone on the other lane, like male, like Luo, completely different background from mine. I asked him, please read this book and give me your feedback, and he tore it to shreds. And that is the reason this book is so important. And I know it's good. I'm so proud of this work, but it's because I had the mind to get the difficult feedback early on, because it wasn't a book that was about me. It was about Kenyans. This is not something that I went through myself, and I really wanted it to feel authentic to every single person's experience.
Right.
I hope it is. I hope it did feel that way for those who've read it.